Hey guys, I'm Andrew McComb and welcome to Web3 TV. In today's video, I'm with Dan Jones, the co-founder of Calyptus, a free e-learning platform that's upskilling senior Web2 engineers in blockchain development. And today we're going to discuss the importance of building a bridge between Web2 and Web3 technology. But before we do, make sure you register to watch every episode of Web3 TV here, where we share inspiring stories of all things Web3, making a difference to the world. All sorted? Okay, let's go.
Dan, we understand you speak a lot about the need for Web3 platforms needing to build a bridge to Web2 or Web2 to Web3. Could you please tell our viewers, for starters, what is Web2 and then what is Web3?
For sure. So Web2 is the internet that we use today. It's the iteration of the internet, which is all about interactivity, communication between people. And realistically, it started like quite a while ago. When I was growing up, I used MSN to speak with my friends, moved into social media like MySpace, Facebook, now Instagram, TikTok, like this exponential growth in just this hyper communication between people. And that's what the internet has become, especially given the birth of, the smartphone in like 2013. This is all just perpetuated. And so, yeah, it's the version of the internet, which it builds on Web 1. Web 1, if you see it as just read, which is, in the 1980s, 1990s, it was a static website, which you could literally just scroll through and that was it. It's the iteration, which is read and write. So you can now communicate with others. You can create things with others online. But the missing piece from, Web 1 and Web 2 is that it's plagued with this phenomenon, which is copy and paste. It's also the whole revolution that is the internet, but it's the internet of information, and anything can be disseminated infinitely around the world using copy and paste. And so any type of we've got transactions like monetary transactions, personal data, if you're saying to people or to companies, weather forecast data, all types of data that exist in the internet can be spread around the world by click of a button. Now, why is this all like a problem? Well, it just means that you can't protect the scarcity of some things in an online world. So, when it comes to your personal data, you don't want other people to be able to see that or send to others, or replicate and duplicate and send to others. It would, and on a money front, like it would collapse the world economy if I could literally just copy and paste, an extra £1,000 on my bank account, or I'll copy and paste another £1 million from my bank account online because it's just copy and paste. So what we do in Web 2 is that we rely on intermediaries. So we rely on PayPal to help keep track of our account balances. So when I send you £1 million, I don't think I'd ever do that. But if I send you a tenner, I know that it's PayPal has recorded that as left my account, gone to yours. And that's how we make sure that copy and paste doesn't exist. And we use that with banks online. All ways in which you use intermediaries that keep things scarce. When it comes to, my personal data that Facebook keeps, or a company keeps, whether it's a lawyer, anything where I want that information to be very scarce. I want it to be private. I don't want it to be sent to anywhere else. But the problem of this, where you then, provide all this power into the hands of intermediaries and middlemen, is that something they can build monopolies because they become the powerhouse of this kind of data. That means they can control pricing in terms of what they can charge. That's kind of just basic economics that you'll learn at school, university. So rising and predatory costs, for some banks, it's going to charge you 10% to send money around the world to, a friend elsewhere in a different country. When realistically, sending money around the world should be as priceless or just, cost effective as sending a text. It's nothing. It's just sending data on a screen to someone else to get data on a screen. And so, yeah, we've relied on Web 2 on all these intermediaries to look after our data and our money. But it's a problem because you have all these things from monopoly, pricing power. But the biggest factor is that databases where they keep all this data information get hacked all the time, literally all the time. And we don't see it because we're people, but these are businesses. But, cybersecurity is one of the most fundamental things that need to be learned, even if you're in Web 2. But, I think it's Accenture have estimated about 5.2 trillion worth of assets are at risk over the next 5 years because of cybercrime. And so we rely on these intermediaries to look after our data, but they don't always do a very good job. Often they do, but not always. And so Web3 is basically this idea of read, write, and own. So, we're able to own all of our own private data, our money that we look after, our identity we look after. All of our data is stored with us, and it's stored in a decentralized way where all this power goes away from intermediaries and middlemen, and it's instead secured within our wallets that is on a decentralized network, just like how the internet exists. It just exists, everyone uses, but it's connected to a blockchain where all that information is stored to us personally. And the great thing is that in this world of Web3, when you're looking at information that's stored on a blockchain, there's no single point of failure. It's stored across millions of computers. So someone has to somehow get to hack and get power over 51% of those computers in that network to be able to cause an effect, which is basically impossible. Instead of just hacking a single server, which is where most of our information is stored. So that's what Web3 is. It's read, write, own, and getting ownership back of all those assets, your identity, everything stored on a blockchain that's decentralized, where we don't rely on intermediaries and these problems of databases getting hacked.
Great description, mate. Great explanation. So when we look at the types of bridges that need to be built, what do you think some of them are? Like maybe say cryptocurrency bridge to fiat currency. What are your thoughts on that sort of thing?
We need bridges of all types, like for data, any kind of asset from Web 2 to Web 3, we need them to interoperate. The global GDP that we currently have is like 85 trillion. So that's the creation of goods and services in the world right now. And the value of all assets in the world is 440 trillion. And then when you look at the size of the crypto market, it's just hit $1 trillion. We're having some sort of baby bear bull market, which is just definitely I think it's a trap, bear trap. But the value of the assets, are all being transacted in exchange, whether it's real estate, it's your car, commodities, stocks and shares, all on these old, archaic, often just broken and inefficient systems in the current state of the world. A lot of it's just done with paperwork, and so even like stock exchanges, for example, their clearinghouses were developed in 1970s. It's just old technology, T+2. It's going to arrive in 2 days' time. Just all the stuff in which the value of assets move is all in a very Web 2 focused way, and it's bad. So what we need to get Web 2 to Web 3 is we need to have these exchanges, these bridges, which can move into Web 3 and be exchanged in Web 3 in a very efficient, decentralized manner, without these intermediaries that are high in costs, very inefficient. So whether that's trading deeds on like ownership of real estate, or art, or again your car, you can turn those deeds into an NFT and you can trade that on a marketplace in an efficient and low cost way. At least it'll be low cost in the future. Right now, it can be quite expensive with gas. But the likes of exchanges like monetary in terms of fiat to crypto, you've got Coinbase, which is more centralized, or Uniswap, which is exchange of different cryptos between themselves, including stable coins. These are ways in which we can actually move between Web 2 and Web 3 and get there from this 440 trillion worth of assets into a Web 3 and a much more efficient and fluid type of market. Even our identities, we need to port them from being a passport that we all hold, and we're going to be thinking that holding an actual passport that's an actual copy is going to be weird in, I don't know, 10, 20 years time. That's so old and just archaic because there's the systems we rely on. We'll be able to port across identity into our wallets. So, instead of, even when it comes to buying something online and you fill out a form and either you've got to fill out your information or it auto fills your information and it's wrong and you've got to try and change your address because it's got your old address from your old. You can just connect your wallet and it will pre-fill everything that you do and you add your identity or address to anything that you fill out online, because it will always have the most up-to-date version of your identity. You just click connect and it will pay for that thing that you wanted, plus add your address and verify your identity. So we need to get your identity across from Web 2 to Web 3. That needs to move. And in my eyes, the way this is going to happen is through privacy-enabled chains. I really think that like ZK-proof chains like Polygon or optimistic ZK proofs, like as Polygon Nightfall. I think in this world, not everyone, most people don't want others to see how much money they have in their bank account. That's a very normal thing. Do I want people to know all my finances? Well, the blockchain right now is all public, so I can see what your Bitcoin account has. I can see what your Ethereum account has. But privacy-enabled chains, where you use ZK-proof verification of the transaction, so using zero knowledge, where you can actually say that this is a verifiable transaction between Alice and Bob, where only small amounts of data are exchanged to make that transaction verifiable. But none of the information of how much I'm of who those people are or how much is being sent is shared with others. It's kept to your siloed accounts, Alice and Bob. And so I know how much money I have in my own account. And this whole decentralized blockchain operates much like a public blockchain, except for, we finally have privacy. And I think that's how companies are going to want to operate, because they don't want all of their details obviously being shared, all their client details being shared publicly. And I think people don't want all their money to be publicly shown either. So this will be a huge catalyst. These technologies using zero knowledge proofs are going to be, I think, really changing this whole dynamic, because suddenly you have a Web 2 form, which is like an online bank account, which looks exactly the same, where it's all privacy still in Web 3, except for it's decentralized and there's low cost and you don't rely on the intermediaries where there are hacks and scams all the time. So that's why I see all the bridges and what needs to be done to get from Web 2 to Web 3.
And when you look at all of those, Dan, what do you think the difference that's going to make to people and the world will be? So obviously, you look at privacy as one, you look at transparency as another, but they're also in conflict with each other, aren't they? But how is the bigger picture of this going to make a difference to the world, do you think, with all of these bridges from Web 2 to Web 3?
Yeah, if we're really going for the biggest difference, just you can take a look at all these developing economies. Like Venezuela in 2018 had 1,000,000% inflation rate. You look into Argentina and how much hyperinflation they've dealt with over the last 20, 30 years. Just war-torn countries that have to where holding their own national currency is completely futile. You've got to run to the supermarket to try and make sure you get the best price, because as soon as you've left, it's a different price again. You have people, so in Kenya, for example, the best way to exchange is not using a bank, because actually 1.2 billion adults, 1.7, billion adults don't have a bank account because they're not allowed to have one. And so that's unbelievable. But what if you just had most people in the world now have internet and a phone. So you can now have your own bank account. You don't need to rely on an intermediary to tell you that you can have money stored somewhere safely. And in Kenya, they use something called M-Pesa. I think there's like 50 million users around Africa that are using M-Pesa, which is exchanging your phone credit as money, which is a way, because they haven't got a bank account, so they use their phone credit instead as a system. So if you're looking at the truest value, it's those places where bank accounts aren't available, and money is difficult to hold. Realistically, they would buy in these areas of the world where their currency isn't stable, and it's hard to just try to buy dollars and have them cash in hand. You'd buy stable coins. You'd buy USDC, USDT, whatever stable coin you need, which is pegged to a certain value, and it can be stable and safe for you. And all you needed was your phone and a bit of internet. You didn't have to worry about a bank telling you can get a bank account.
And that triggers me, I guess, and a lot of people out there still think you can't use cryptocurrency, right? So there's a bridge required there, even though there are bridges. What do you see as the future of that, so that it's accessible anywhere at any time on any device?
Yeah, I mean, there has to be better growth in wallet integrations. The user experience and user interfaces right now in Web3 are not good. So why would someone want to move away from using the Web2 format, which has been now highly refined? You've got these neobanks like Revolut, Monzo, where sending money is quick and easy. So Web3 has to really get to this point where it's emulating the same user experience. It feels still safe and secure to do so. I think there has to be some catch up there for the user experience for people to be using Web3 forms of sending money. And when it comes to exchanging, if you're exchanging Bitcoin or Ethereum for goods, that's a tricky component, because it's a very volatile asset. Can people really be using that to buy goods and services right now? My hypothesis is right now we'll be using stable coins, and that's how you've got this bridge between Web2 and Web3 in terms of fiat and crypto, just replicating what we already have. My hypothesis is in the future, Bitcoin and Ethereum will grow into a currency much like today, where once you've got into the trillions of value, and it's no longer this kind of embryonic type of currency or crypto, which is always fluctuating and moving around incredibly, but instead you have trillions of dollars that are based in Bitcoin or Ethereum. The market movements of that money over time will be much smaller, and you've started to move into what was a very volatile asset into something that has a lot more stability in its value. And once you've done that, then that's where it's gone from being this nothing currency to something that's actually being used and being globally adopted as internet money. But I think stable coins for a long period of time will probably be used if it's going to be around transactions.
Fantastic. Well, mate, a wealth of knowledge. Really appreciate your insights into integrating Web 2 into Web 3. Guys, if you haven't seen it, we've done a fantastic interview with Dan and his journey into Calyptus, his awesome business that's helping senior engineers get themselves out into the Web3 space, and obviously helping companies looking for engineers onboard into their businesses. So if you haven't seen it, we'll put the link up here again. And we've also done a fantastic interview around what is the future of work, which is quite fascinating. And obviously it's opinion-based because it's Dan's opinion, but I'll put the link here as well for that. So Dan, if you're happy to take any comments or questions from people, well, guys, put them down below. And obviously this video is going to be timeless, so you might be getting some questions into the future. But if that's okay, guys, put your comments below.
Awesome. Cheers, Andrew.
See you in the next video, Dan.
Well, there it is, guys. I hope you enjoyed this Web3 TV episode. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below. And remember, if you'd like to watch every episode of Web3 TV, visit the link below or subscribe to our channel. And remember to hit the bell icon so that we can notify you every time a new episode is released. I'm Andrew McComb, and I look forward to sharing more inspiring Web3 TV episodes making a difference to the world. I'll see you soon.